Hello everyone, Prey Scooter here. Welcome back to the last video on Indivisible. It's going to be kind of a lengthy one, but this video is going to cover everything that involves New Game Plus. And now forgive me if I seem a little discombobulated at the moment. I just got done editing all this down. It was about 8.5 hours worth of footage to skim through to get to this point. If not 9. But what I will tell you here before we get started is everything you're going to see here is basically from start to end of the new game in order that it happens. So some points I'm going to bring up here are going to be separated out and seem like a mishmash, not connected mess for a little bit here, just because of what I'm doing in order. But I will say that yes, you do have to do all this stuff you're seeing here in order. Now first things here, yeah, I'll get my words right one day, is this first battle when you first acquire Dar. This first battle here, you do everything up to this point plays out like a normal game. But as of now, you get access to everything that is not the upward drill attack, the sideways Maruka slam, whatever we call it, and the downward slam. And you don't get the Maha Haruka hustle. You do get the regular Haruka hustle though. You also get access to all of your party members from your first playthrough, as the game would say, you had just finished the original playthrough. It's now here in this playthrough, as you did with your original go around. Now I'm inserting this clip here because I want you to notice the levels I'm gathering. Ajna starts off at level 1. Ajna starts off at level 1, and she gets levels stupid fast right away, like up to level 50 really fast. Now I'm inserting this clip of Mani and Ratna, because once you acquire them, you go back into your inner realm, and you talk to them again, and you're done with them if you've collected all the Ringsels your first time through. Which means all Ringsels that you acquire in the New Game Plus are just bonus. Also, this move you'll be using a lot. You get all 7 bars of ED and this special attack, which if you want to blast through the game, like I'm trying to do now, you want to use that with Ajna, because except for some enemies who absorb magical attacks, you will want to use that so that way you can chunk through fights super fast. Now, some clips I'm inserting here before we get to what's new in New Game Plus is just me showing you that a lot of enemies' attacks are now necessary for Perfect Guard. Also, a lot of enemies' attacks basically OHKO you. Like, Ren is probably my highest level character, respectively, from my full playthrough. He got one shot by something that's like in the beginning of the game. Now, here's where we get into where the New Game Plus content starts, with Kogi here. Ajna, last we meet. Also, I'm going to be kind of yelling at myself, post-commentary and all that jazz. But yeah, this new character, Kogi, only shows up in New Game Plus. Scooter, in the past, if you would be so kind to push forward. Scooter, please. I must have been doing some research on this guy or something. But yeah, I'm kind of reading through this really fast. Basically, how the script, it's written here with Kogi, and what was probably planned for other future added characters down the line with this game, because reminder, this was a Kickstarted game, is they're probably gonna, a lot of them are going to be probably tied to New Game Plus, and they're going to act like everybody, like you have all party members from every single incarnation or party member from the first playthrough of the game. You're going to have all of that available to you. So that's how these are all written, is though you have every single party member, including optional party members. Now, what does that mean for you playing through if you haven't gotten all the party members? I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't have it in me right now to go through and get every party member once again, or to go through the game a third time and go through that entire thing, skipping optional party members, considering my go-to team for a lot of fights consists of like optional party members. It could be that I just vibe with optional party members better. It could be that I'm just bad with what the game thinks you can do with baseline team members. But if you've been reading the synopsis of this very bluntly is that, hey, Kogi's from an organization that he can't tell you about because it would ruin the plot of the game, for lack of a better term. But you are going to be challenged to a cook-off of sorts. And I'm trying to figure out... I wasn't reading, I was trying to give a synopsis of some stuff. Alright, he was cooking a meal to kind of prove his mirth as a cook master. So, it's a master chef. Well, unfortunately, we also already have a master chef in Leilani. So what it's all going to boil down to here in a little bit is this is going to be a match of... It's basically going to become an in-game Iron Chef. Except... We have a bounty list, aka a hit list, for all the ingredients we need for this Iron Chef match. Now, most of these fights and everything, you cannot acquire any of this stuff until you, at the very least, get the Maha Haruka Shuffle. That's like the starting point. So you can't even do this stuff until you do loop 2 of going to the three other locations in this land. I'm just reading it now. So I cut ahead on this, but yeah. Reminder that Leilani basically fed us a mixture of what is it? X-Lax, something else disgusting, and a sea cucumber that it was not a sea cucumber. Oh yeah, she fed us X-Lax spirit so potent that it made the outside of the lush lose feeling in her tongue, and a sea cucumber into a delicious dish. So that's kind of the stage. A trained culinary master versus an island inhabitant who learned family secrets that somehow makes the disgusting delicious. I don't know, it's actually kind of a halfway decent plot point. But unfortunately, the hoops we have to jump through to get to that point, that's another thing entirely. But at this point, Kogi will jump into our inner realm, just without our consent, by the way. He will jump into the inner realm and take up housing there. So that way, if we ever need to, we can go to our inner realm to look at the checklist. Now, here's something else I noticed, is that I was very hesitant on this, but the palette you get for Ajna for playthrough, for your New Game Plus playthrough, it does unlock that color palette right then and there. You can always go back and reselect it. But here's something else I noticed, is that for some characters, for whatever reason, it clears your completion of their personal quests. Some characters, not all, but a lot. It clears the completion of their personal quests. So if you want access to color palette 4, their personal quest completion on subsequent playthroughs, you do have to redo their side quests. Anyway, here in the Iron Kingdom, this is where you'll probably run into your first instance of a fight that is on the hit list. The Ice Golem and the Magma Golem. So a hot guy and a cold guy. Rosmi, you've been supportive, but for all the wrong reasons. Anyway, so this boss fight, it's pretty simple. Treat this like a mini boss, more than anything, I should say. Also, you can see I've already got my team squared away. My go-to team. Don't worry, I will change up team members a little bit as we go throughout this, but this is the go-to team right now. Now, something else of note that I want to mention while we got this here is when it comes to option party members. If there's a move you like using with Ajna that is tied to an optional party member, guess what? You don't get that move in her repertoire until you meet that optional party member again. So like how I like using the sickle on Ajna for her bread and butter combo, I have to re-meet Ren in the second loop of the game before I can use the sickle combo like I have been using it. It's bunkus. But anyway. But yeah, so all this hit list stuff is basically another series of mini bosses. Once you start like at this point in the game, oddly enough, a lot of attacks won't first grab attack I'm being hit by the way, because I skipped a lot of stuff. A lot of these bosses, if the normal fights leading up to this point were doing it, these mini bosses can 1, 2, and or 3 shot your party, no matter which characters you use. So stay sharp. But it also kind of sucks because a lot of these bosses also have moves. Also do have some moves that are completely new. So there is a little bit of variety in the enemies, at least in New Game Plus, in these mini bosses or these hit list enemies. Anyway, just gonna let Boss Killer go on her rampage. Pretty much took off a half of this guy's health bar, but it did eat up all the ED. Now you may think, oh, all these bosses are gonna be really simple, wash, cycle, repeat, all that jazz. They do get different. They do get different. And they do get gimmicks as we go along here. Anyway, let's let Ginseng have her time to shine to put literal ice and lava in her giant mortar and pestle bowl. I can't say that word. Please don't let it go to your head, Ginseng. I bully you and put you down enough that I don't think I need you. Anyway, after every fight, you can come up. Once you get done with every fight, you do want to update your list every now and again, if not for your own mental sanity, but because Kogi here actually will update your hit list. There are 11 targets in total, and that was the first of 11. So here in Ashwat, we're now getting close to like we're getting really close to loop 2 at this point. I think I had just finished the Iron Kingdom loop 1 at this point, which is when you get the axe slam. Oh no, we're in Ashwat, so this is the start of loop 2. We just went to Mount Sumeru for the second time. Yeah, we just went to Mount Sumeru for the second time, so at this point we have now access to the axe slam, and things are a little different. Now this is where bosses get a little tricky, because you see I'm doing 0 damage. Because Rodney here is a bit of a butt. Now you might be thinking, I've used... Also, these bosses are going to hit like a truck, and they're slower, so their timing is way off too. So you're thinking, so you will be thinking, oh god, does it just have that much defense? No, it's damage types, and I didn't realize this for a while actually. A lot of enemies have a gimmick with their damage values that will kind of offset things, and I'm a little upset at myself now. I mean, at the moment, this is the first time I've been doing all this. But if you use ED meter, you can set enemies up to be vulnerable to your attacks. So Rodney's whole thing is you have to use ED meter to make him vulnerable, and then you can counterattack. Like you see right now, I am not doing any damage to him. So have Run do some additional damage, and then follow up with everybody else to deal it down, or deal everything down. I mean, at this point, because he's toppled over, he can actually take damage from anything. Other bosses later on will have more gimmicks than just this, so be prepared for that. Anyway, apparently Zebe has some bad blood with Rodney. Listen, Zebe, I don't want to know what your past all entails, but you go, King. Yeah, I mean, they did come out with a body. We don't know what the body is made of. I mean, it's called a ghost, but we don't know what came out with the body. I mean, they do offer the suggestion of using them as chopsticks, but I guess it's not gonna. Zebe's not gonna take that lying down. Anyway, the next one on the hit list is still in Ashwat. I actually took the underground tunnel to Tai Krung to actually get the Maha Haruka Hustle, which gives us the ground dash that you get from the end of the game. But here's the Beastmaster. It's basically like the highest points of Ashwat. And his thing is going to be that he's a summoner, but he also he sets up a guard, which Compound just obliterates. But he is a Beastmaster. And what do Beastmasters do a lot in games when that happens? They summon things to fight for them. So at this point, we cannot... load the shell. So at this point, we cannot do any damage to the Beastmaster. So it's kind of a segmented boss where the main fight itself, or the main enemy itself, is no stronger than like random enemies you'll find in the wild. But his summons basically give him a health pool sponge that is gigantic and really just doesn't help the overall cause. Also, I don't know what was happening there, why I didn't attack right away, but I don't know if I was planning something or anything, but load that shell, and that's dead. So the Beastmaster now comes to the forefront, and rinse and repeat. And at this point, this fight just kind of plays out like normal for a little bit. Once again, we don't have quite enough damage or damage output to be able to take him down now, so I'm pretty sure if I remember right, he will summon one more beast before we're all said and done. Oh, the golden goat. I had assumed this goat actually was going to be like the Rosmi's challenge fight. Something else I can talk about by the way, is your what you've completed with Rosmi's challenges. What you have completed with Rosmi's challenges stay as it is. So you do not have to recomplete Rosmi's challenges for New Game Plus. If you completed it, you finished it, it's all said and done. And I'm just letting Compound go wild here and take out this beast. I can't remember if I took care of this goat in this cycle. I did take care of the goat in this cycle. And I think with that, we actually take care of the Beastmaster at this point. So you can kind of see a lot of the gimmicks coming into play with these additional boss fights, these additional mini-bosses as it were. Also, this is the point where we start getting to the fact of, we are targeting some humanoids, but they're finding clever ways to get around the whole, wait, don't skin a human alive, that's cannibalism. It's fine. We're not going after human, we're going after this part of them. Okay. I don't know. It's kind of clever writing. I think the biggest thing about all this, the irksome bit about all this for me, is that none of this is voice acted. Despite the fact they dedicated scenes to this, none of it's voice acted. But then again, kind of defunct thing. I wanted to show this off here. So at this point in the game, I realized, this is the second trip to Tychrone, I realized that players have a level cap, or I keep forgetting the term. Incarnations or Prime members have level caps. It's different for each incarnation you have, but they will be hard level capped at a certain point. So everybody you see here is level capped regardless of side quest completion or not. We will visit this again a little bit later on, but completing a character's side quest, all it really does in the sense of this game is just give them like a 20 to 25 level boost. It doesn't give them any additional skills or abilities. It just gives them a raw stat up. So if you want to in New Game Plus, if you want to try somebody else you haven't have, you can, when you get past loop 2 to when you can start doing the side quests, you can start leveling up that way. Or you can start leveling them up through this system and get more levels than when you initially got them when you left them behind in your first playthrough. Anyway, back in the Altuma Sands, down below where this Ringsel is, below like a crouching dash area, we have this wolf. Please, a wolf, Zashna. But I want to touch the puppy. Listen, semantics. Alright. Now I believe this is another gimmick. Is this another gimmick fight? I'm trying to remember. Or is this just a really big health sponge wolf? I think this wolf is just a really big health sponge. We'll find out in just a second here. Because it's probably gonna do... Well, no, I'm gonna let Compound go off. Okay. I guess it's just a really big health sponge. So this is kind of your standard run-of-the-mill mini boss of sorts where it has no gimmick. It's just a lot of health associated with it. Or it could also have an attribute that will... It could have the absolute attribute that is the opposite of what I'm running into, where it only takes damage from certain damage types. Also at this point, I have made my way to find Ren and Tai Krung and acquired his assistance. So I do now have the sickle for my combo that I have been using. Actually, a little fun thing I can say here, because I was doing research on this whole thing while I was going throughout it. Kogi's name is not just like a backer name of some kind or anything cute or funny. I think this is an original character. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. But the reason why Kogi is his name, it's kind of a play on words for the Korean name for meat, which is Gogi. I'm probably saying that incorrectly because I don't speak Korean. Anyway, just above the Altooma Sands in this area that has a backwards air draft, just over this pit here, is our next target. One of these Sentinel things. Ah, Hasti. So, this enemy also has a lot of health, but also takes no damage from, and I've been alluding to this, from physical attacks. Meaning you have to repurpose your team to do magical attacks now. And I don't find this out for some time. This is like the first enemy that has this kind of gimmick with it. Thankfully, the Sentinels it summons do take damage from anything, so if you can't take out the summoner, at least you can take out the subordinates. But I'm using a technique of reserve summoning to bring in some people who do magical damage. So Hunach and Zebok are coming in. I think I end up replacing Kompan with Tarani. Wow, even at this point, Hunach and Zebok can actually stand a hit. But yeah, as you see here, with Hunach and Zebok doing, well, I guess Zebok himself being the ball, can actually start doing do magical damage being the ball. Actually helps dealing damage to the Husky. However the heck you say that name. Okay, so after I fail guarding, I think I do take the time to yep. So I was rarely through who does magic damage, and I was like, oh wait, Tarani is obviously magical. So Tarani comes in. Probably the worst spot for her to be, but she's here. So you will see this team for a little while because I keep messing around with enemies being only damageable by magical means instead of physical means. And now we actually roll through this fight kind of like normal. Except Ajna can't really do much. It's literally every other party member. I'm pretty sure if I use like her level 2 and level 3 charges, I could actually do something. But right now, not so much. Also, just getting the rhythm down with Hunach and Zebok. Like, I understood the rhythm, and it is kind of fun. I'm also failing terribly. Thankfully at this point, because of something, either with the levels or something has happened where I'm at the second loop of the game, what enemies can do for damage are nowhere near comparable to what it is on your first loop through everything. Also, the enemy kind of glitched out here because it somehow ran over the puddle, and I just couldn't attack it for some reason. Anyway. So I basically have 2 healers working on this enemy, but I more or less have Tarani here for the magic damage. Now, I don't know if Nuna would fall into the magic damage crowd or not. If somebody knows, of course, plop that information in the comments. Yeah, that's really all I got to add on to this. This fight takes a while. But like I said, Ajna can use meter to kind of help expedite this fight a little bit. Also, I'm bad at blocking. How am I so bad at blocking? Rosmi has not moved this entire time, and yet I am so bad at blocking with her. Like, I understand Hunach and Zebok because this is like other than like their personal quest, this is the first time I've brought them into combat. Also, I know what's happening at this point. I was trying to figure out what was the combination of directions and attacks that Aj needs to do to use her magical damage, so to say. Anyway, at this point, I've kind of figured out the rhythm to take down this boss. It's use down B with Tarani, let Hunach and Zebok, with Zebok being the ball, go into combat here. And yeah, just kind of wash and repeat with this one. Also, that counts as physical. Good to know. Second meter counts as physical. Also, it's weird that that attack actually does damage. Like, that attack does damage and it, like, darkens the character as though they were hit with a status afflictment, but it doesn't do any status conditions. Well, that's fun. Anyway. Still trying to figure out what the combination is to let Ajna do her combo attack, but I still can't figure it out. Alright, I'm still failing with Razmi, but I'm trying to let Hunach and Zebok get geared up so they can actually do something. And there we go. And bop, and beep, boop, bop, slam, bam, thank you. Also, the puddles on the ground there have definitely helped with my damage. Anyway, that's all handled. Well, I say that's all handled, and yet, this thing still has a bar and a half of life to go. Although I think I now have generated enough ED that I think Ajna can help with damage again. Like I will say, like from what I've cropped out of all these fights, unfortunately just because of the nature of this, I do have to show all the fights. Oh right, it has to summon its last guardian. Arise my pillar man. But yeah, I do have to show off every these fights from start to end, so unfortunately you get the whole experience here. Also you get a, I don't know if it's like a glitch, but because I'm targeting the main enemy regardless, it's still like, I don't know how to describe it. You'll see it in a minute here. Somehow guard against the wind. It's fine. Get up, team captain. But yeah, even though I don't finish off the actual like summoned enemy here, like it's still kind of there. And I thought this was broken for a while, but now I realized no, it's not broken. This is actually how it is. Yeah, strong metal, but I guess maybe this was a hint for after the fact that maybe Tungar's, whatever he called it, with Tungar's weapon might have been able to go through their defenses and contribute as magical damage. I don't know. I didn't try it. I didn't think to try it because I figured it was all physical. Listen, if somebody calls you a cool uncle, just take it as a compliment. But yeah, that's that fight done, and now we're heading. We're now with the up attack here. We're actually heading underneath Port Marifa to get at a enemy that's below sewers. With a lot of these actually, with a lot of these additional fights, for some reason, they don't show up on the map. Like they're in a undisclosed area of the map that doesn't even show up on the map itself. Check out Goldie here. Of course I know how to cook alligator. I cook alligator all the time. Today. Anyway, I switched up my party a little bit because I wanted to see how Baltsai would be working on some things. Also, Zunach is using Hebok at this point because I used one reserve to switch their places out. I used one bar of ED meter to switch their places, so now Zebok is dealing physical damage with Hunach as the ball. It's kind of confusing, I know, but just follow me on this. Anyway, damage. Fire some shots. I don't know, this fight Like, this fight is not anything special. There's nothing special about this fight. It doesn't, like, resist magical or physical or anything like that. It's just another health sponge, but because everybody's so much further leveled up, it's that much easier to handle, actually. There we go. Something I will add in to note here for this fight is that at this point, Ajna's like level 70. And I think and I'm going to spoil a little bit, but when I got to the end of this New Game Plus playthrough, I think Ajna was in the mid 90s for levels. And yeah, so Ajna starts off basically as a nothing, and by the end of the game, she ends up becoming freaking godlike, so to say. Because I don't know if Ajna has a level limit. Like, Rosmi's capped at level 110, Compound's capped at level 113. So I don't know if Ajna has a level limit. Anyway, we've done this trick once before to get to the very tip top of Port Marifa, and this is where this big crow is that's on the hit list. Now you can wait until you have the omnidirectional B air dash, either variation of it, but I managed to I was able to game the game a little bit to get here early. Now the whole gimmick with this fight is that if it doesn't have any babies to summon, it will summon more babies. So it's kind of like with traditional RPGs in a sense, or traditional RPG archetypes. Of the enemy that if it can spawn more enemies, it will spawn more enemies. If it can't spawn more enemies, it will do nothing. So it's better just to attack the hive mind of the operation instead of the babos, so to say. I'm using terrible words. Don't worry about it. How did I mess that up? Hunaj and Zebok are the only two people who have moved on this radial dial at this point. Somehow Ajna didn't get hit in this. Alright, go get him. And Zebok. Use Hunaj. Well, here's the problem with that. But yeah. Other than the splitting mechanic, this bird doesn't have anything interesting to it. Other than it's basically, if you know how Altoon works when you're using Kushi, then you know how this boss fight works. Also, the expression of I got hit is hilarious on these birds. Just because like Altoon, you never see it because Altoon's never supposed to be hit in any fight. So you're kind of seeing it. Also, I've somehow figured out the combination to do that. Anyway, pop a quick heal. Now the only problem with doing a fight like this where you target the spawner instead of focusing your efforts on the spawns is that it becomes a little bit of a hassle to keep track of all of the spawns. Also, to add into the fact that the camera in Indivisible, as you saw from the multiplayer video, is a little weird. And you're going to kind of see the battlefield just kind of shift awkwardly. Like, I can't even see Zebok on the back there. So I can't tell if he's being hit or what he's being hit by. I can't even see Rosmi right now. But regardless, we're going to press on as I try to prepare for damage mitigation. Anyway. There. Now the camera's moved back into a more optimal position. The main crow is dead. So now we can focus on these babos. Go Zunach! And my hope here was to hit all of them at the same time to try and get them lined up so I can just go plow through them, but unfortunately they didn't line up. But all it is now is just the babies. They're not going to resummon the main body. It's all just the babies to chunk through. Also, I let the ball go because apparently Hunaj kept targeting the same enemy, but apparently it didn't work like that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain my thought process on this of just how targeting is supposed to work. But there we go. We got that done. I think there are only like 2 or 3 more targets left on the hit list. Actually, there are 3 more. I can see it all right now. Tungar, you try to joke? Don't. I don't even understand what you were going for. Leilani, don't encourage him. Tungar, you have a lot of disciples for varying aspects of your life. You might want to narrow your horizons. Anyway. So here in Tai Krung, we have, this is the one we could not get, you cannot get until you defeat Queen Mary. Or defeat the Slime Queen, rather. But once you do, you get access to the Werewolf. Like I said, I'm kind of doing this, I'm kind of trying to do a lot of these fights as soon as I am possibly able to do them, is when I'm doing them. There's not a lot of leeway. Anyway, this fight, kind of cool. Where this form of the enemy, takes no damage from magical sources. And by this point, I fought enough of these mini bosses that at that second right there, I just realized, okay, he takes no damage from magical. I'm not getting rid of Rosmi. Rosmi's just gonna be a healing battery. And then right here's when I went. Well, after I get bodied by this attack, right here's when I realized that it doesn't take damage from physical sources. So all the damage is left to Rosmi. Maybe I didn't understand, but yeah. So, because it's all magical, let's just put a trap down and let him walk into his death. There we go, just let the poison tick away. No grabs. It's fine. So we just let Rosmi go to town, because oddly enough, Rosmi can do a decent chunk of damage, and now it's back to physical, which is perfect. Unfortunately, when this guy does transform, he does take off any stats flickers you put on him. Maybe it just happened to happen where, because the poison may have just been ending, that it went away. I don't know, but I'm gonna work on the assumption that, right, break the guard. I'm gonna work under the assumption that transforming clears any stats connections. So if you manage to slow it down with Rosmi's down attack, that it will clear that. Anyway, I'm trying to finish up this fight as quick as possible in this form. But unfortunately, it transforms again. But fortunately, Ren's here. Ren, please. So, it's a werewolf. So where does this lie in the moral compass of man and creature? Like, should we send the man to jail? Do we wait for him to turn into a creature and then skin it alive? Where does it lie? Unfortunately, they find a loophole. He's got mystery meat in his pocket. Leilani, I don't think we want to eat that meat. Rosmi, don't encourage her. Everybody's encouraging everybody with the wrong reasons. Anyway. So this is the second trip to Kanul. This is basically the back way up to the surface of Kanul at this point. The roads haven't converged yet. I didn't show the map, but this is basically the backside up to the surface of Kanul, like I just got done saying. And you have to go through this little platforming segment that apparently is just as hard as the Path of Pain to get here where we meet the Yahui! Christmas alligator. Christmas turtle. Yahui! 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 They're kind of getting into it a little bit. It's supposed to be evil. Let's take it down. Yahui! Yahui! That's quite enough. Yahui. Anyway, this boss fight I thought was awesome. Now, if you notice, it just lost a metric ton of health like that. Like, I was doing this fight initially, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be an easy fight. Just chunk down its health and we're done. We're out of here. Pack it up, go home, and tell the wife and kids we're happy to see them. No. It heals like crazy. And you can't even chunk through it, really. Like, I just unloaded with Compound and it didn't go through it. So it kind of has like a false guard to it, so to say. If that makes sense. It has a false guard to it where it has like a false HP meter almost. Of course, we're going to let it heal up, but I'm also going to charge up. Where... No. Fortunately, if you do time out your attacks in just such a way, you actually can get through this pretty quickly. I think for this fight, what I would recommend is kind of like uncharacteristically for how I do things, use a fast team. Yahoo! No match for our combine. Will you stop that? Yahoo! God damn it. This is probably some of the more funny dialogue I see at this point. Sure. Leilani, you good girl? Anyway, so here, I wanted to show us off. So this is Ren's optional quest right now. I'm gonna skip the dialogue and the story for this. But basically, I did it like this because Ren is currently at level cap. I finished his personal quest in the New Game Plus, and he has not raised his level at all. So I did that as a confirmation of this is level cap. So right now we're at the 3rd ascension up Mount Samara. Basically, instead of going straight for the top right away, just head as far right as possible. The wall that I complained about a while ago, of like this seems breakable. It is breakable. You do need the Maha Haruka Shuffle to get through that. So this is locked off to basically final climb territory. Now, I wanted to bring in other team members. Because I knew Razmi couldn't do anything against this fight. So I decided to bring in a team that was more suited for... That was more in line and suited for my... what do you want to call it? For my Unknown Meowster fight. But it is a Necromancer. It is a Necromancer. It's going to summon these Archon ghosts. I don't know what these are ghosts as well. They're just like the evolved version of the small ghosts we've been fighting. But yeah, I brought Nuna just to mitigate as much damage as possible. Which is going to be kind of interesting because it is summoning zombies. And these zombies, they're very deceptive in that they are really slow moving, but when they do start attacking, that's when you can counter it. Like, they move hella slow, but when they start attacking, it's go time. Anyway. Now, this fight isn't that bad, in my opinion. Like, ignore the zombies that the Necromancer spawns. Just focus on the Necromancer. Because the Necromancer has, like, double the health of what an enemy would have at this point in the game. But if you focus on the zombies, 1, you won't be able to flinch them or stun them. And 2, well, they have a gimmick that we probably see here in a little bit that will help give you reasoning to why you don't want to attack that anyway. Anyway. I got tired of setting traps, so I just let Nuna do damage her own way. But at this point, that's that. And now with the Necromancer gone, the zombies don't have much to do. I'm sitting here thinking, oh god, what do we do? Well, if you have to damage these guys, they actually take the quick way out, we'll say. Which you're going to see with this guy on the top. They explode. It's a decent amount of damage and it poisons. But since the Necromancer is gone, also I experimented with Nuna's level 3. I have never seen that skill. But yeah, basically, if you get them to a point where they're starting to get below, like, I think a 1/6 their health, they just go for the explosion. But hey, there's that done. That was the last target on the hit list. Incredibly gross. Rouse me, please. I'll do it. What are you gonna... What are we gonna do with this thing? Just... Yeah, what is Kogi even gonna use this for? Use it for supplemental resource instead of the creature itself. I like it. That's fine. Don't worry about it, Leilani. Just keep your secrets to yourself and you'll do fine. Razmi, I know what you mean by cook his face. Don't cook his face. Yes! Rosmi, no, you're encouraging her. Why is that encouraging her? Anyway, let's pop into the brain realm. Me in the past, would you like to pop into the brain realm? Thank you. I think I was talking with friends. I was talking with friends while I was doing most of this to kind of help keep myself level-headed. So I was just telling them, yes, it's over. It's finished. So we get to the cook-off itself, which we don't see any cooking off whatsoever. Limited resources. So now comes the point while this is all going on, while they're going through how they acquired all the ingredients, where I get to tell you some unfortunate news for all this. Kogi does not join your ranks. He is the same as George is, as Ratsma and Mani are, as the fortune teller is, and as, I forget the lady's name, but Supe are, in that they're just there for additional flair, flavor, and or help. Which sucks because there is some, like, if you look this up, I might go back, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back and put it in right now because I'm kind of want to be done with this at this point. There is art out there that suggests that Kogi in conceptualization was actually going to be a fighter, kind of basically being a sword and shields type of warrior, where he had a giant butcher's knife for his sword and a wok for a shield. Which, that sounds so cool, but no, it got downgraded to this. And read it if you want to as well, because they're just kind of recapping everything that they've gone over in this adventure. But something I want to bring up and remind you guys is that, remind you once again, this was a kickstarted game. They had plans for a lot more incarnations, party members or mental realm hub citizens, that never got finished because the main company, Lab Zero Games, went under. And I don't think 505 really pushed for anything else with this game overall. But anyway, now that I've gone over, now that I've kind of glazed over everything that was the recap, here comes the finals. We don't get to see anything, but we have to take their words on what's going on. Kogi has created a masterful 7-course spread with the materials that we have gathered. Don't say Yahui. Yahui! God damn it. So everybody is tasting his meal selection at this moment. Is tasting his meal selection right now. Kogi feels like he's got this in the bag. Also, I haven't pointed out, but he has a lei effectively made of garlic bulbs. Anyway, Leilani has basically presented a bowl of rice with meat strips on top. I mean, in most cases, a traditional Japanese dish, which they probably have gone over, but she basically made Wagyu strips on top of rice using the odd meat. But she also made a sauce. And somehow that sauce is what brings it all together. Like, even Rosmi is taken aback by it. Of course, she's got to put up a strong front, but she's taken aback by it. So you can read how she managed to make the meat edible and made her sauce. Just take some roots, make roots into a paste, and then let them ferment. What roots? And with just that explanation alone, Kogi is just like, nah, I'm good. You have bested a 5-star chef. So the prize is a sword. Yahoo! So using some leftover materials from what we've gathered, he has made a sword for Leilani.
I'm getting better at this.
That is your reward. It is considered in its own skin, but you get a golden sword for Leilani. Kogi does not join your party. It is a golden sword for Leilani. And I was furious at this point. I was like, wait, I did all this for that? It's a skin. And the skin doesn't even let you do more damage. It's literally a skin. No additional damage is done. That's it. Anyway, I have to go back and look through it, but there's some text I'm going to put up on screen right now. Basically, Kogi has a couple additional lines of dialogue when you see him off right before you go for the one-on-one versus Kala. But that's it. That has been everything New Game Plus offers for Indivisible. It offers basically a hard mode until about 2/3 of the way through the game. And one skin. If you do everything. Is it worth it? No. It is not worth it. But I wanted to go through and put this together because A, I need to show 100% of the game as I promised. I also wanted to put this together for those that have been looking around like me, who were looking around for any clues like, hey, how do I get Kogi to join my party? How do I do this? You don't. That's all you get. You don't even get anything additional for Ajna at the end. It's the same ending at the end as well. Ajna doesn't get any additional power. You don't get additional ending splash screen that says, and Ajna lived on in this realm. You just basically get the same ending screen, the same credits, the same ending, and the ability to save your game again and actually carry over your levels once again with Ajna restarting at level 1. So it's New Game Plus. Once you beat the game once, it's New Game Plus every single time you decide to play the game again with that save file. Anyway, I'm going to cut myself off here before I get any more angry. Everyone, thank you all so much for your time with this series of Indivisible. And I will see you next week for a brand new series. Thank you folks for your time, and I'll see you then. Take care.